Do you date for pain? Maybe. So I was inspired to make this video based on like a conversation I had with one of my friends early on. Like I think it was like last week. I think I'll start it again, but I can leave it all in. You date for pain? Maybe. This video, we're gonna explore this question. So I was talking to one of my friends like a couple weeks ago, and we were just talking about dating, and she was pretty apprehensive about getting back into the game in whatever shape or form. She kept repeating stuff like, I just don't want to go through the pain of doing it. And it really just had me thinking. And based on some of the things that I'm going to talk about in this video, I was able to at least give her some ideas that could help her on her journey and to also change her perspective. So I'll just give a bit of my introduction to dating, right? Like, I grew up in an environment where like pseudo arranged marriages were pretty much the norm. Like that's pretty much what was around me, and it just never really stuck for me. So I wanted an alternative of some sort, right? Like I wanted to make sure that if I was gonna commit to spending my life with someone, my entire life, my one life, I would want to get to really know them before making that commitment. And like most of us, I got introduced to dating like just like through movies, like just seeing what is depicted like in shows, everything, asking someone out, just all of that stuff. Um, and I look back and I see how much of an oversimplification that is in terms of what it's like to meet people, what it's like to have chemistry with people, just all of that just seems very, in some ways, watered down, and in some other ways, overstated in things that I've seen, right? And I think the major piece of conditioning that I walked away with those experiences early on was dating itself is the prize. And I won't be surprised if you came to similar conclusions as well. And I notice it when I see how people approach dating and also how I've approached dating in my life up until learning some other stuff that I'm going to talk about in this video too. It just kind of felt like an endless cycle of falling in and out of love just over and over again until something clicks, right? And I think people are tired, understandably so, right? Like you can't just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again. There is wear and tear. It's almost like just stacking trauma. Um, you're just you're rubbing away at your vulnerability because I'm just like, if you keep going through the cycle of getting hurt, your subconscious mind is gonna try and protect you, right? And you're going to slowly make yourself numb so that you can actually deal with all the different traumas and all the pain that you've experienced, right? But why do we do all of this? We do it for the high, right? Who doesn't like falling in love? Who? Everybody loves that process. Everyone loves feeling like you've potentially met someone that completes you, someone that you feel like you've been searching for so long, and now you've met them. Like if if a company could bottle that feeling, right? They would probably have a higher valuation than Apple by now, right? If they could just bottle, I don't know what you'd call that, but onto onto some more. But it's just like that would be such a commodity because there isn't anyone who doesn't like that. The uncontrollable chemistry with someone, just wanting to always be in their presence. You're texting them all day, every day. They feel every piece of free mental space that you have rent free, just all of that. And if you're particularly steamy, you're probably thinking about, man, when next are you gonna have sex and all of those things. But like a lot of us and a lot of you out there have probably experienced, it's also the low that comes with it, right? Especially when it's just when you're just doing it unconsciously, like you're just like, yeah, I want love, and just going into it and everything. You go through the experience where like the highs drop, like everything starts to flatten out. You know, you're texting someone just as a chore. It almost reminds me of the times when like Snapchat was still popping. I'm so surprised that Snapchat still exists, to be honest. Like, but back in the days when it just dropped and like there were streaks and whoever, like, did you notice how it went from you're actively like connecting with your friends and your crush like every day to like you're not even trying to keep a streak, you're just enjoying the actual conversations you're having, and then slowly it just becomes this thing where you're just doing it for the streak. Like I remember stuff like just like sending pictures of the ceiling and people send me back pictures of their ceiling, and like at some point I was like, okay, I'm done with this, and I just deleted it. But like I know people who still are doing it. That's kind of the place that we get into when we don't bring intention to this process and we take dating itself like it's just the prize itself, right? Like you get into this point where you're no longer getting to know this person. Like you don't know them any more than you did 2 weeks ago, because like all you're talking about is, oh, how are you, how are you, what did you do today, what did you do today, and it's just like, it's just that. And then maybe you might meet up and you're horny and you know you do the do, but you still feel like something is missing, something is off, like it's lost its thrill, and you want to chase the dragon, right? Like you want to feel it all again, right? And sometimes like that is a natural progression, right? And you find like a new um you find a new balance with that person, and you move on from there, and it progresses wonderfully. But sometimes as well, and more times than not, you never find the dragon's tail, and you and this person slowly grow apart, and you're back to square one. And it's honestly not square one, because it basically is -1, right? Because we're not machines. You're not a machine. You don't go through connecting with someone very deeply and losing that and just like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to go again. And some people might argue otherwise. Some people might say like, yeah, I can always go back. Like, it doesn't work. It's like, cool, that's you. But a bunch of times, like, what happens? They go back, they rebound, and you have the exact same thing happen all over again. And each time you feel a little more numb, a little less invested in people, a little more invested in a story that, the dating market is just shit and you have the worst luck. Just want to see where my friend was at. Like, she just kept going on and on about, like, she basically has the worst luck, like she doesn't know what she's done to the universe, yada yada yada. And I'm just like, I don't know if that is what is going on here, but I'm sure you've had those same thoughts. Like you've thought, it's clearly something wrong with me. And sometimes it is like a you problem. Honestly, sometimes it's a you problem. Maybe the stuff that needs to be worked on, but I'm going to approach this less about the individuals and more about the actual process and how I was approaching it and it was causing me pain, and how learning new information and trying out new things has totally changed it for me, right? Um And so, yeah, like there are stakes, right? Like there are actual stakes to this, because think of it like this. Every time you go through this process without some success, and by success, I imagine anyone who is dating is ultimately hoping to have a long term and fulfilling relationship with someone else that deepens over time, right? But if you're going through this loop of getting the high, getting lost, not really knowing where you are, and then pulling out, things fall apart, it's almost like you're running out of credit, like you're running up your credits pretty much, and you're going into debt. And in this case, the currency is emotional energy and time, and your credit score pretty much goes to shit. And in this case, your credit score is your trust, right? It's your trust in yourself, it's your trust in people, and those aren't currencies that I feel you can just or should just throw away. over and over again. Also, given that we have finite time here, right? Like, if we were immortal, it's like, yeah, let's do this forever. I'll figure it out. Maybe do like a do like 1 millennia of like hot boy summer, and then another millennia of like healing, and then start again. But it's like, no, no, no. Like, max, we're here 100 years, right? Why waste the time and hurt ourselves over and over again simply because we're going with the flow and we don't have a map to the destination that we're trying to get to, right? And this is honestly where my friend was at, and this is probably where you're at, just like a place where you don't feel very hopeful about this, about love, about dating, and you're just like, I would rather not play the game at all than go through pain, right? Because this is such a high risk situation. And I hope by the end of this video, you would be in a better position to feel empowered to be in the driver's seat of this, right? So I'm just going to drop some interesting statistics that I came about, right, to just give you an idea of the landscape we're dealing with. Like, the US Census Bureau notes that 47% of the US population, which is 117 million people, are currently single. And roughly half of them actually want to be in a relationship. So you have like 55 million people. That's a lot of people, right? And 55 million people, roughly so, probably are approaching love without a map of any sort. Like, the best tutorial we get in this day and age is like, you get to learn how to swipe left or right. Like, I'm sure if I'm sure if they did like a study of, how has people's thumbs and like finger sizes like changed in terms of size and mobility and strength in the last like couple decades, or in the last decade, I think Tinder isn't up to 10 years, right? Is it? I don't think so. Like, Tinder wasn't there when I was growing up, so at least like, it wasn't even was it there when I was at university? I'm not sure, but at least a decade, right? Like, I'm sure people have experienced like a drastic growth in like thumb size or like flexibility from just all the I literally remember in college there was like one like a friend's friend, and we're all just hanging out one of these days, and you just notice this guy's in the corner, just and his hand is just moving, and it's just like, what? And you look over his shoulder, and he's not even looking he's not even looking at the pictures or just like anything. He's just like, and I was just like, what? What? Okay. Clearly, people are some other stuff. So, just back to this, right? Like, that many people aren't working with the map. Of course, not everybody, but in general, I noticed like a lot of us are winging it. Like, we're just hoping to like, yeah, I'm just gonna stumble onto someone who I would want to, you know, add into my life and build something with. And yeah, that person, I'm just gonna pick them up online or in the store, like they're like a grocery item, which is not the case, which is really not the case, right? Um, so I'm going to go a bit into the actual map that I wanted to share, because I think it would really help you navigate just like the confusing process of finding love. Like, it did that for me, and it helped my friend too. And it's called the Relationship Attachment Model, R.A.M. And it was created by Dr. John Van Epp. He's a clinical therapist in the US somewhere with like 25 years of experience. And just over the course of his career, he done like and research and just like a lot of observations and studies based on his clientele, from couples to single people. And using that data, he wrote this amazing book called How to Avoid Falling in Love with a Jerk. And the name sounds kind of corny, I won't lie. Like, when I saw the name, I was just like, okay, but I'm not really one to judge a book by its cover. So I still checked it out, right? And it's honestly really changed how I approach love now and how I look at it and understand it. And not just love, just relationships in general. Because you look at the name, right? Relationship attachment model. It's not just romantic love, it's even just like people in general. How do we go through the process of forming relationships and close relationships. And so he wrote this amazing book, and shout outs to him for doing that amazing work. Like, I hope he's being appreciated for that. And I'm definitely gonna leave a link to the book in my bio so you can check it out. I honestly think if you want to go more into detail, read the book. If you decide not to read the book, well, that's on you. But I'm probably gonna make more videos as well, diving deeper um into the framework and everything, right? So, but I would say please read the book. Like, there's nothing like getting it from the source. And then, let me know any questions that you might have and in the comments, and if there are a lot of repeating questions, like I'll make some more videos around that because it's just been like super, super helpful, right? I'm also gonna link to one of his lectures that I watched that was pretty good. Like, the guy is actually hilarious. I'm like, if any of my lecturers in university were this funny, I'd probably be doing like a master's or something. But I'm just like, yeah, I'm done. Like, this stuff is dry.